Okay, just imagine this for a second. You walk into the most important meeting of your life. Your client? A king. And the stakes? Well, they're just the fate of an entire nation. And your pitch? You're going to tell him his entire business model is wrong. I mean, that's exactly what an ancient philosopher named Mencius did over 2,000 years ago. His whole radical idea centered on one fundamental question. So, back in Mencius's day, this was the question on every single ruler's mind. You got to remember, this was an era of just brutal competition. Everyone was looking for that edge, right? That one secret to total dominance. And the conventional wisdom? Well, it was pretty simple, and I bet you've heard it before. Power comes from strength. More soldiers, more territory, more gold in the treasury. It's that straightforward, brute force approach to running a country. But then, along comes Mencius, and he's traveling from kingdom to kingdom, basically like a freelance consultant. And he tells these power-hungry kings, hey, you guys are all focused on the wrong metrics. He had a totally different answer. And to really get why his answer was so radical, we've got to take a look at the world he was trying to change. So this was the Warring States period in China. The whole country was basically shattered into these rival kingdoms, and every single one was fighting for survival. I mean, think of it less like a bunch of countries and more like a really cutthroat corporate landscape where a hostile takeover meant a literal invasion and bankruptcy meant your entire state just, poof, ceased to exist. And this slide, it really captures the core problem of the era. You had the rulers at the top, and they were obsessed with one thing, profit. And for them, profit meant conquest and expansion. But for the average person, on the ground, that obsession at the top just translated into constant war, crushing taxes, and, well, total chaos. So, into this complete chaos walks Mencius. And he's ready to pitch his totally revolutionary strategy to some of the most powerful men in the world. So, try to picture the scene. You've got King Hui, a ruler who's, let's just say he's seen his share of defeats. He asks Mencius the question you'd expect. You've come all this way, 1,000 miles to see me. What profit can you possibly bring my kingdom? And this is Mencius's legendary opening line. It is a direct challenge. He's basically telling the CEO, look, let's forget about quarterly earnings for a second here. We need to talk about your company's soul. So Mencius just breaks it all down for him. He argues that, look, when a king talks only about profit, what happens? His ministers start talking only about enriching their own families. And the people? They only think of themselves. It creates this society where everyone is just trying to get one over on everyone else, and the whole kingdom just rots from the inside out. But if you lead with benevolence and righteousness, you inspire loyalty. People start caring for their families, and by extension, they care for their ruler. That, he says, is the real foundation of a truly strong state. But here's the thing. Mencius wasn't just some pie-in-the-sky idealist. His pitch wasn't just some moral lecture. It was a concrete, super practical plan for national prosperity. I mean, his advice was super concrete. Things like manage your resources sustainably, don't mess with the farming seasons, let people work their fields, make sure every single family has the means to support itself, and once people are economically secure, then you can start focusing on their moral education. See, the crucial point here is that a happy, prosperous population isn't just a nice byproduct of a strong state, it's the actual source of its strength. All right, so his next client was King Xuan of Qi. But this king had a totally different problem, a crisis of confidence. He hears all of Mencius's ideas and basically says, yeah, that sounds great, but I'm just not that kind of guy. So what does Mencius do? Well, being the master consultant that he is, he doesn't lecture the king. Nope. Instead, he asks him about a story he'd heard. Apparently, the king had seen this ox being led to a ritual slaughter. The animal was trembling with fear, and the king just couldn't take it. He said, I can't bear to see it. It's like watching an innocent man walk to his execution. Spare it. And so they did. They replaced it with a sheep instead. And Mencius just pounces on this. He tells the king, that feeling you had for the ox, that compassion, that right there is all it takes to be a great king. You already have it in you. The only problem is you just haven't figured out how to extend that same feeling from an animal to your own people. And this is really the core of his whole psychological argument. He tells the king, look, if I asked you to carry a mountain across the sea, you'd rightly say, I cannot. That's impossible. But if I asked you to break a branch off a tree for an elder and you just refused, well, that would be a case of I do not. Running your kingdom with benevolence, Mencius insists, is like breaking the branch. It's not like carrying the mountain. It's a choice you make, not a question of some special ability you don't have. And all of this, it leads to the final, really stark choice that Mencius presents to every single leader he meets. It's a choice between two fundamentally different models of power. Okay, so he lays out two paths. On one hand, you can be a hegemon. That's a ruler who uses military force to make people obey. And sure, this works for a while. You subdue their bodies, but you never ever win their hearts. They obey you because they're afraid. Or you can be a true king. This is someone who rules through virtue. Things like compassion, fairness, a sense of shared well-being. This approach, it wins the hearts of the people. They follow you not because they have to, but because they genuinely want to. And that, Mencius argues, is the only real path to lasting stability. So trying to achieve that true lasting power, the kind a true king has by just using conquest and force, Mencius said that was completely absurd. He used this fantastic analogy. It's like climbing a tree to find a fish. I mean, think about it. You're in totally the wrong place, you're using the wrong method, and you are absolutely guaranteed to fail. And what's worse, you'll probably fall and hurt yourself in the process. So here we are 2,300 years later. What can we actually take away from this ancient consultant's pitch? Well, in today's language, Mencius was basically telling these kings to change their KPIs, their key performance indicators. He was saying, stop obsessing over short-term profit, like grabbing more territory and treasure. Instead, make your number one KPI the long-term well-being, the security, and the prosperity of your people. Because his fundamental insight, and this is really what makes him so relevant today, is that a nation's, or a company's, or, any organization's greatest asset is its people. Invest in them, earn their loyalty and trust, and you will build something that can withstand any storm. But if you neglect them in the pursuit of pure profit, well, you're just building a house of cards. And that's why Mencius's pitch, it isn't just ancient history. It's a question that echoes in every boardroom and every capital city today. It forces every single leader to ask themselves, what is the true source of my strength? And where do I draw the line between profit and principle?